In this video, I'm gonna show you 3 exercises that can fix a ton of common upper body, shoulder, and even neck problems. The most common things that cause issues at the shoulder or even the neck are too much tightness on the front side of the body, which pulls the rib cage down and rounds the shoulders forward, or too much tightness on the back side of the body, which flares the lower rib cage and arches the spine, which is also not very good for shoulder mobility, and also a lack of rotation, particularly at the thoracic spine. The inability for us to turn is really problematic because we need to turn with every single step that we take. We need to turn all the time and be able to separate the movement at our thoracic spine from our lumbar spine. That's a huge thing that a lot of people are missing, and a lot of people have some combination of 2 out of 3 or 3 of the 3 problems that I just described. If you've ever seen my content before, then you know I talk a lot about the rib cage, and that's for good reason. Because the rib cage is the thing that is the foundation of our shoulder and where our neck sits on. So if the rib cage is in a compromised position, the rest of the stuff around it, like the muscles, are also going to be in a compromised position. So to show you what I mean, for thoracic spine mobility, my rib cage literally needs to change shape for me to rotate. That's a huge component of what's going on for our thoracic spine to move in the first place. Secondly, let's say we have rounded forward shoulders like this. Well, you might think the tight pecs and muscles on the front side of the body are pulling the shoulders into that position, but really it's a depressed and also what we would call internally rotated rib cage, which is preceding that tightness on the front side of the body. So it's not like the tight pecs got tight for no reason. It's no, the rib cage is in a depressed position and the muscles followed suit. What I see time and time again is that if you can improve the positioning and also ability for the rib cage to change shape, the muscles tend to take care of themselves and you suddenly experience less tightness in those areas that you would think are being compressed by really shortened muscles. But really, it's just the rib cage that can't change shape, because if the rib cage could change shape, then the muscles wouldn't have a reason to be tight in the first place. Before we get into the actual exercises, I want you to understand quickly your own individual limitations. So there's a couple of quick assessments that we can take to get a really good idea of what's going on, just at a basic surface level. The capacity of my shoulder to move into internal rotation reflects how much tightness is on the front side of my body. The tighter or more depressed my rib cage is on the front side, the less I'll be able to internally rotate my shoulder. And for the back side of the rib cage, the tighter that is, the less I'll be able to express external rotation of the shoulder. So that's going to give you a really good idea, or at least a really good initial idea of how much this is tight and compressed. So the first thing we're going to do is open up the front side of the rib cage. This will just be a really easy, simple exercise you can do that will help you get these ribs in a more elevated position. The second thing we're going to do is expand the back side of the rib cage. We're going to help create more space between the shoulder blades and spine, but in a way that doesn't depress our sternum too much. And then finally, we're gonna work on rotation of the thoracic spine, because in order to properly rotate our thoracic spine, we need a couple of things to happen. Let's say I'm turning towards the right side. Well, I need my ribs to come back on the right side, and I need them to come forward on the left side. So I need the ability to open up the space on the front left side and the back right side. So we're gonna open up those things with the first 2 exercises, and the last one will help tie everything together in a more dynamic way. For this, you just wanna be prone, face down on a comfortable surface on the floor. And you wanna start with your elbows around the height of your shoulder, maybe a tiny bit lower depending on what's most comfortable for you. But generally speaking, you wanna be right here. Your thumbs are in line with each other, and you're kind of forming almost like a triangle-like position of your hands, just like this. Now, all you're gonna do is start with your head facing down a little bit, and you're gonna press through the inside portion of your elbow and also evenly up through your hand and palm. And as you do that, you're going to elevate off of the ground a little bit, just like this. You wanna make sure that your chin and neck is in a neutral position. You're not looking up too much, you're not looking down too much. Just look about, I would say, 5 to 6 feet in front of you. Now exhale all of the air out. With a nice open mouth sigh. And at the end of that 5 to 10 second exhale, You're going to pause, and then you're going to place your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and you're very gently going to inhale through your nose, not engaging your neck even a little bit. And you're going to feel your upper rib cage expand. Exhale again, and repeat this for about 5 to 10 breath cycles. You can also play around with, again, your elbow position. You can also play around with your elbow position. You maybe go a little lower, which will allow you to get kind of higher, but you don't want to go so high to the point where your elbows come off of the ground and your lower ribs are flaring a lot like this. Generally speaking, your lower ribs should be in contact with the ground at all times. These exercises should give you a good start, but it's not a comprehensive approach, and we're not addressing how the lower body could be influencing the upper body. For example, if I had a pelvis that was tilted forward, that might create some compression on the backside of the rib cage. If I had a pelvis that was tilted backward, that might be associated with a little bit more tightness on the front side of the rib cage. And until I address that pelvis position, things aren't going to get better. So the beginner body restoration program that I have is a really good resource that addresses everything from head to toe, common postural issues, movement issues that the average person faces on a daily basis. So you can check that out down below in the description. But also, I have a specific shoulder health program, which does take into account some lower body considerations like I just mentioned, but it's more focused and isolated with stuff up here, but it also has strengthening exercises in it as well to help complement some of the principles we talk about in this video. Again, that will be linked down below in the description. To open up the back side of our rib cage, what we're gonna do is find a desk or something we can just sit near. Now, my legs are pretty far apart from each other, but that's just because this is the best object we have in the gym to use for this. Ideally, you'd be able to keep your knees about hip width apart. It's not the end of the world if it's like this, but here's the important thing. You want to be able to rest your elbows about shoulder width apart on that object, so that way your humerus or arm bone makes around a 45 to 60 degree angle relative to the position of your trunk like this. So it's this angle we're looking at. Now you want to keep your eyes totally straight ahead, head stacked on top of your rib cage, chin very slightly up. Now in this position, with your hands and palms facing each other, you just want to very gently protract your shoulders. This is something we're going to be doing in the next exercise too, so it's important you get this down now. What I'm doing is I'm very gently pushing my rib cage back, but separating my shoulder blades away from my spine. So it's this sort of action where I'm trying to reach my elbows away from myself, but also push my rib cage back. I can do that without shrugging my shoulders or depressing my sternum. My sternum should still stay relatively pointing ahead. So it's just this subtle little action. And you know you're doing it right when you feel a little bit, tiny bit of a stretch, just like a 2 out of 10 between your shoulder blades and spine. Keeping your eyes straight ahead, you're gonna fully exhale. 5 to 10 seconds, fully out, until you feel your side ab muscles or your obliques engage on both sides. Then you're gonna close your mouth, just like the last exercise, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and very gently and silently inhale through your nose for about 3 to 5 seconds. And as you do that, you're gonna feel your back expand with air. Maybe a little bit of your front too, but mostly that space that we created through this protraction. So a full breath looks like this. Side abs engaged. And it shouldn't feel like a ton's happening there, but that's what's required to start to open up space genuinely in the back of our rib cage. For this last one, you're gonna be in a side lying position, pillow underneath your head so that way your neck can be nice and neutral, maybe double folded if necessary, and you want your knees and hips bent at a 90-degree angle each. Now, I have a foam roller in between my palms like this, and my hands are around the level of my shoulder. You don't want them too high, you don't want them too low. Right around here is what we're looking for. Now here's the key. To initiate this exercise, you wanna make sure everything in your body is 100% relaxed. Just gonna make sure I have no tension. And then I'm going to slightly protract my shoulders. What I mean by that is I'm just reaching my hands away from myself as I separate my shoulder blades away from my spine. It doesn't involve me shrugging up, it's just a gentle reach. So it feels like my shoulder blades are moving again away from my spine, but my ribs are being pushed very slightly back. Now what I'm gonna do is maintain this position. Again, make sure not a lot of tension is present in my body. My neck is relaxed. I'm gonna inhale through my nose very gently and roll my top arm over my bottom arm like this, just going a couple of inches. And then as I exhale, I'm going to move back. But the key is I'm not trying to pull back by pulling my shoulder blade back like this. That's not going to get the shape change of the rib cage that we want. We want to get that by maintaining that slight reach and protraction, but almost like we're turning our sternum, our breastbone towards that top side. And that will allow you to still keep that space between your shoulder blades and spine. I'm gonna inhale and go a little bit further. Notice how subtle and how little motion there is here. Exhale back like that. Again, not shrugging the shoulder, not pulling it back, just turning through my breastbone or my sternum, just like this. This is about the cadence that we're looking for if I was breathing through it nice and relaxed. I'd recommend doing these exercises in the order I presented them to you. Ideally for about 2-ish, maybe 3 sets of about 5 to 10 breath cycles per exercise. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this type of thing, let me know, because I also made one of these for the lower body as well. I appreciate the support. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.